Welcome, and thank you for listening to Xenozoic Xenophiles, a fan podcast devoted to the comic series Xenozoic Tales, a post-apocalyptic adventure series filled with Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, from creator, writer, and artist Mark Schultz. I'm Darren.
And I'm Ruth, and this is a fan podcast. We're not affiliated with Mark Schultz, and the opinions expressed are just ours.
We do this podcast simply because we enjoy reading and talking about Xenozoic Tales and other worlds created by Mark Schultz.
In this episode, we're continuing our coverage of the excellent animated television series Cadillacs and Dinosaurs from 1993, and today we're talking about episodes 9 and 10.
The series was adapted for television by award-winning writer, producer, and director Stephen E. Souza.
Listeners are likely familiar with his work on classic television shows like The $6 Million Man, The Hardy Boys Mysteries, and Knight Rider, as well as hugely successful films including 48 Hours, Die Hard, Judge Dredd, The Running Man, and Commando.
The entire production team did a wonderful job of bringing Xenozoic Tales to television as Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, and we're thoroughly enjoying revisiting these classic episodes.
If you want to watch the show, you can find it on a few streaming services as well as on YouTube through the Retro Rerun channel. We're watching it on Amazon Prime Video.
For new listeners, we want to share a little about our title. Of course, the word Xenozoic is part of the title of the comic.
Xeno is defined as something that is strange or foreign, while zoic refers to a geological period of time, so Xenozoic basically means strange age.
And a xenophile is someone who is interested in foreign lands and foreign cultures, and that word definitely describes us, because we're definitely interested in foreign lands and cultures just like those found in Xenozoic Tales and the other worlds of Mark Schultz.
And of course, some of you know the series under the title Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, which is used for the TV series as well as video games, board games, and some reprint collections.
If you love these stories and the wonderful art, be sure to join the Facebook page Mark Schultz, Xenozoic Tales, and Other Stories for the latest official news and information.
The place to find Mark's books is Flesk Publications. John Flesk puts out beautiful books from a variety of creators, including the collection Xenozoic, that contains all of the Xenozoic Tales stories written and illustrated by Mark Schultz, as well as the exciting book Storms at Sea and the Carbon Art Book series.
We're very excited to see that a new Carbon Art Book collection is planned for 2026. Those books are always amazing, and we're already looking forward to seeing the new one.
We hope you'll join us on social media to talk more about Mark Schultz and the world of Xenozoic Tales. Later in the episode, we'll share feedback, and we'll provide our email address and other ways to contact us at the end of the show.
Please feel free to write in anytime and let us know what you think about the series. We'd love to know what you like best about the art and stories and how you first discovered Xenozoic Tales.
Xenozoic Xenophiles is part of the Rad Adventures Network.
If you enjoyed the show, please consider checking out our other podcasts that are available through most podcast apps, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music, as well as YouTube.
Trekker Talk is a fan podcast devoted to the adventures of 23rd century bounty hunter Mercy St. Clair from the pages of the sci-fi comic Trekker by writer and artist Ron Randall.
And Warlord Worlds is a fan podcast devoted to the comic creations of writer and artist Mike Grell, including the Warlord, John Sable, and Green Arrow.
Mark Schultz, Ron Randall, and Mike Grell are our favorite comic creators. Their stories are filled with adventure and interesting characters, and their art is excellent.
We'll include links to those other podcasts in our show notes, but for now, let's talk about Cadillacs and Dinosaurs, right after this message from another podcast you might enjoy.
Earth-shattering disasters. Strange sports stories. 5-star superhero spectacular. What do all these titles have in common? Well, they're all Bronze Age DC Comics, of course, but they are all also special. My name is Paul Kien, and I'm the host of the new podcast, DC Specialcast. In the 1970s, DC Comics published a number of catch-all titles, like DC Special Series, DC Superstars, and others. These comics varied wildly in content, quality, and even format. Each episode, I will be joined by a guest to explore one of these special comics. So join me for DC Specialcast, coming in 2025, only on the Fire and Water Podcast Network.
Episode 9, Remembrance, written by David Wise, originally broadcast on December 11th, 1993.
The episode opens with Jack and Hannah racing along in a Cadillac while being chased by a civet or Tyrannosaurus Rex. They think they made a dramatic escape by jumping a ravine in the car, but the civet leaps across the ravine as well, leading our heroes to quickly climb up a rope onto a rocky ledge high above. The T-Rex slams against the rocky outcrop, trying to cause our heroes to fall, but instead, a rock slide uncovers a large metal object that falls onto the civet, startling it and causing it to leap back across the ravine. After the T-Rex departs, the duo climb down to inspect the large metal object. Jack suspects it is a storage capsule, and since there aren't any warning labels or symbols, he decides to pry open the capsule. As the capsule opens, the two stare down at the body of a man. From the level of technology inside the capsule, the two surmise that man must be from ancient times. Jack thinks the equipment is some type of life support mechanism, and then they realize the man may still be alive. Just then, he opens his eyes and introduces himself as Adamus, and asks how long he has been in the storage unit. Of course, Jack and Hannah have no idea, so Adamus tells them that he was put into the capsule on November 7th, 2027, in case that information is helpful. Jack and Hannah tell Adamus they need to continue on to the settlement where they were headed, but in the meantime, they should hide the capsule, so they bury it under some rocks before continuing their journey, and the two are surprised to see how strong Adamus is, as he carries large boulders to help bury the capsule.
Driving through the flats, Adamus asks about all of the strange creatures he sees, and as Jack names the different species, he realizes Adamus doesn't recognize them. Jack says he probably knows them as dinosaurs. To this, Adamus calmly replies, "Oh, I thought they were extinct." Jack and Hannah are surprised that he isn't fazed by anything they've said. During their conversation, Adamus also mentions the word Archimedes, which he says is important and is another word for peace. They arrive at the settlement, which is at the base of a dormant volcano, and there Jack introduces his friend Cap Trask, and the two share fun stories of antics from their past. Trask is intrigued by Adamus, and Jack asks if he can stay in the settlement because he wants to keep him away from Governor Scharnhorst. But that isn't going to be possible, as Trask informs him that Scharnhorst, Fessenden, and the Terhune brothers are in the settlement, investigating some ruins where they have found a sealed bunker. Avoiding Scharnhorst and the others as much as possible, Jack tries to repair some equipment for Trask and the settlement, but it overheats and catches fire. Afraid it might explode, Adamus grabs a metal door and rushes toward the fire.
The explosion throws Adamus to the ground, but his actions prevent the fire from spreading to some nearby fuel tanks. Jack and Hannah are amazed to see Adamus suffered no injuries from the explosion, but they aren't aware that Hammer Terhune is watching from the distance, and he goes to tell Scharnhorst what he has seen. Scharnhorst soon arrives with the Terhune brothers, demanding to see Adamus' papers, and when they discover he doesn't have any, Scharnhorst calls for him to be arrested. Jack speeds up in his Cadillac, and Hannah and Adamus jump inside and they all race away. As they drive, Jack tells Adamus he was in the capsule for at least 600 years, and Jack and Hannah are surprised that this news doesn't seem to faze their new friend at all.
Just then, the civet from earlier crashes through the forest, and the group attempts to race away, but the car skids and crashes into a tree. As the civet's jaws close in on Adamus, he pivots and turns, and then pushes the T-Rex aside, which startles it, and it runs away. Then Jack sees exposed circuits in Adamus's arm and realizes he is a machine. Meanwhile, Scharnhorst, Fessenden, and the Terhunes have been tracking the Cadillac and discover the buried capsule, which Fessenden initially thinks is a suspended animation chamber. However, upon further inspection, Fessenden finds a handbook of code commands and realizes Adamus is an android, and with the codebook he knows they can control Adamus.
As Jack and Hannah talk, a Wahoonchuk, or Stegosaurus, attacks Adamus, and he enters into defense mode and fires a laser from his arm. Jack and Hannah are shocked by what they see, and Jack begins to worry that Adamus may be dangerous. Adamus says he wants to be their friend, but tells them if they ever need to stop him, to say the command, "Emergency Cancellation Socrates," which will cause his power cord to melt down. Just then, Scharnhorst and the others arrive, and Fessenden begins giving command codes from the handbook he found. Realizing what is happening, Jack pulls Hannah into the Cadillac and races away, just as Adamus turns and begins firing lasers at them, trapping them behind an avalanche. Thinking them dead, Scharnhorst and the others drive away with Adamus.
Back at the ruins, Fessenden has Adamus use his laser to open the sealed bunker they discovered earlier. While Scharnhorst and Fessenden investigate the items in the bunker, the Terhune brothers practice giving Adamus commands and accidentally cause him to fire a heat-seeking missile, which targets the volcano, leading to an explosion and causing lava to flow toward the ruins and the settlement. Just then, Jack and Hannah arrive, and Fessenden commands Adamus to attack them. Jack begins to recite the command code Emergency Cancellation Socrates to destroy Adamus, but Hannah stops him in mid-sentence, and instead, she says Emergency Cancellation Archimedes, remembering the word for peace that he shared earlier. This stops Adamus, and he realizes what has happened. Jack quickly tells him to disable his voice control function before Fessenden can give him any more commands. Seeing the lava headed toward the settlement, Adamus quickly helps set up explosives at key locations to collapse the rest of the ruins into the path of the lava, stopping its flow. As the story ends, Adamus chooses to go back into the capsule so that he can't be misused by others in the future.
The opening sequence drops you right into the action and is a terrific way to start the episode. It's a very exciting escape from the T-Rex.
I like that Jack and Hannah discuss whether the capsule is safe before they open it. That is especially important given the problems they've experienced with dangerous ancient items in the past. I think they do a good job of being mysterious with who and what Adamus is. Even having seen the episode before, we can enjoy watching the clues unfold as Jack and Hannah learn his secrets.
It's interesting to hear Jack and Hannah argue over whether Adamus is more human or machine, and to hear him ask to still be their friend. It nicely parallels today's discussions about AI, as well as decades of storylines about androids and humans, from Isaac Asimov's robot books, to Star Trek, to The Terminator, and more.
I like how smart and helpful Adamus is, and that he can seem so likable and pleasant even after we learn his capacity for destruction. The contrast is well made, and we get a sense of jeopardy as Jack and Hannah switch off his weapons mode and prevent him from taking more orders from Fessenden. And I like that Hannah knows the correct command code to use when Jack only thinks of the destruct code. It's right that the scientist figures that out.
It's also nice to meet another one of Jack's friends. It helps add to his backstory and makes the world feel bigger and more substantial. And it's great to see Jack is always trying to help out others, like those in the settlement, and that's why he is so respected.
Turning to the visuals, I really like the interesting color accents on the T-Rex at the beginning. It fits nicely with how scientists have learned more recently that dinosaurs were more colorful than we used to imagine.
I also like the smoke rising from the volcano and seeing more of the countryside with crops and the spinning windmill in the distance. I really enjoy the background art and the varied color palette the show uses for these areas. It adds so much to establishing the world.
I noticed a few scenes have the camera pan down from the top of the volcano to the farmland below. It is a nice effect to show the differences in the landscape topography. It's more barren at the higher altitudes and green and lush in the valley. I also like the look of the abandoned crumbling buildings, and that helps create a sense of exploration in those ruins, and I like the underground cavern settings as well. And the danger posed by the flowing lava adds excitement. The art really adds so much adventure and establishes a good swift pace to the story.
We don't talk often about the voice acting in the series, but we should because it's very good. We had read the Xenozoic Tales comics for many years before the animated series started, and still we always felt that Jack's voice was a great fit for the character.
I find the delivery and banter and humor between Jack and Hannah comes across very well, and Scharnhorst's voice sounds harsh and commanding, and that is very fitting for her role.
There is a very poignant sense of sadness at the end of the episode to see the android choose to go back into the capsule. Even though the voice commands have been disabled, Adamus knows there is still a chance he could be used to hurt others, and he chooses to prevent that possibility. This is a good, solid episode that we both enjoy.
Episode 10, Pursuit, written by David Wise, originally broadcast on December 18, 1993.
The episode opens at night at the harbor at the City in the Sea. Hammer Terhune is using a chain and winch to hoist a large piece of equipment from the dock into a waiting boat. Jack calls out from the shadows and leaps to stop him. During their fight, Jack grabs a slither tooth from a chain around Hammer's neck and also notices an odd tattoo on Hammer's hand. But then Hammer slams him into a pile of wooden planks and escapes in the boat before Jack can recover. However, as the boat with Hammer races away, Jack is caught and arrested by Governor Knock and several guards.
The episode then shifts to the trial of Jack Tenrick for technology theft, and we learn the stolen equipment is a recently discovered ancient pile driver. As Jack testifies, he recounts seeing Hammer Terhune hiding in the distance and watching the demonstration of the pile driver the day before. Jack details following Hammer Terhune all the way back to the city in the sea. While he knows the Terhune brothers often work for Scharnhorst, he knows they also work on their own at times, and he's afraid they will convert the pile driver into a weapon. He ends his testimony saying he found Hammer Terhune lowering the pile driver into a boat. However, the slither tooth he took from the chain around Hammer's neck is missing, so he has no evidence that Hammer Terhune was there, and Scharnhorst finds Jack guilty and sentences him to 5 years in the frontier penal colony. As he is taken away, Jack slips a small note to Hannah.
Chained in the back of a truck on the way to the penal colony, Jack loosens a screw and then manages to cut the brake line, causing the truck to crash, and he escapes. Jack makes his way through the wilderness where he meets up with Hannah at the place mentioned in his note, and she confirms that she also let loose his pet Allosaurus named Hermes. Jack tells Hannah to head back to the city while he drives away to figure out why the poachers want the pile driver. Meanwhile, back at the city in the sea, Scharnhorst has called in Brink, the area's top bounty hunter, to go after the escaped Jack Tenrick.
Driving through the flats, Jack begins to notice the symbol that he saw tattooed onto Hammer's hand, and he realizes poachers are using it to mark the best hunting spots. When a mac or triceratops attacks, Jack whistles and Hermes comes to the rescue, driving away the mac. Jack is making his way into the jungle to the north, where he has learned the poachers are organizing, when Brink catches up to him. As Brink drives a handcuffed Jack Tenrick back to the penal colony, Jack tries to explain to him what is really going on. When he realizes Brink isn't going to listen, Jack distracts him and causes a crash to escape.
Meanwhile, in the city, Mustafa and Hannah have learned of a wealthy merchant who plans to purchase a rare slither tooth. The two follow and catch Governor Knock in the process of selling the tooth and accuse him of perjury and suppressing evidence during Jack's trial. Dragging Knock back to the other governors, Scharnhorst demands to know the truth or she will throw Knock into prison as well. Then Knock reluctantly confirms that it was Hammer Terhune who stole the pile driver.
In disguise, Jack finds the poacher's compound in the jungle and sneaks inside and begins searching. As he suspected, he finds the poachers have modified the pile driver to create a weapon to kill dinosaurs. Meanwhile, Brink has continued to track Tenrick and finds the poacher's compound as well, but he is captured, and the group begins to lower him into a pit full of slithers. Seeing what's going on, Jack gets the drop on them and frees Brink. Brink then captures Hammer Terhune, and meanwhile, Jack sabotages the modified pile driver, causing a chain reaction that destroys the poacher's compound.
I love the gorgeous opening scene at night with the two moons in the background and the harbor at the city and the sea in the foreground. It really gets the whole episode off to a nice, mysterious start.
Yes, I love the huge moon in the night sky. It makes for a nice, moody atmosphere backdrop, and I always enjoy seeing parts of the ancient city.
I find it interesting that Scharnhorst sentences Jack as soon as she feels she's heard enough evidence, without getting any input from the other governors. It definitely shows that she is the one who is really in charge.
I think Brink is an interesting character. He is single-minded in some respects, and yet more thoughtful at the end than initially expected. So I thought the character was a very nice addition to the story.
I must say I laughed at Jack's comment about starting to make a habit of it after the second time he escapes custody by causing a crash, only for it to happen yet a third time before the episode ends. It did seem a little repetitive to have that happen multiple times so close together in the same episode, though I applaud the variety of different methods used for the crashes for his different escapes. I'm sure the writer and artist had fun with those sequences.
The backup storyline with Hannah and Mustafa trying to find the evidence that will implicate Nock and clear Jack is enjoyable and adds some nice variety to the episode. I'm a fan of Mustafa, so I'm always happy when his role is larger and he gets to help out. I also like that Hannah gets to show her strength as well when dealing with Nock and the guards.
Yes, they get to show their investigative skills by successfully following Nock and finding that tooth and revealing Nock's plan to profit from lying about that night. It's a nice sequence, and I particularly enjoyed that part of the episode as well.
For the visuals, I'm again impressed with the variation of colors on the plants. Instead of a basic green on the plants and grasses, there are several shades and levels of saturation used that make it all feel alive. It gives it more depth and makes it more realistic. I also enjoy seeing more of the jungle scenery. There are some nice backgrounds that include a foggy mist effect that adds depth to the view. It all makes the jungle seem large and expansive.
This is another well-paced episode. The scenes pull you in and move the plot forward, and there are several exciting segments and some nice tension and suspense. It's fun to see Jack figure out the meaning of the tattoo and other symbols, and to get into disguise and make his way into the poacher's compound. His undercover investigation pays off by not only wiping out the poacher's compound, but also by showing the bounty hunter Brink the importance of doing what is right and not just following orders, as well as showing Scharnhorst that it was her lackey Hammer Terhune who actually stole her equipment.
It's another good, solid episode of this excellent animated series.
Next up is listener feedback when we share the emails and messages we received since last time.
Thanks to everyone for the comments. Your support and encouragement is great, and we appreciate everyone who took time to get in touch to share your thoughts.
Professor Allen let us know he enjoyed the episode, commenting that it was a very enjoyable chat. Thank you for listening, Professor.
John Adam Scott was excited about our previous episode, saying he couldn't wait to listen. Plus, he said he would really like to see some new Xenozoic Tales comics as well.
Yes, we know exactly how you feel, and know that's what we all want, and it's difficult to wait. We'll all be very excited when Mark finishes with the story he's currently working on. That'll be a great day for all fans to celebrate.
Omar Rodriguez was happy with the new podcast and told us that he thought it was awesome. Thanks for the shout out, Omar.
Our friend John Baker sent us a note saying, "Another good listen. Anytime you can fire up a Loch Ness Monster reference in a podcast, that's going to make me smile. I too am a Loch Ness Monster fan, so I enjoyed your take on that episode." John continues, "As always, lots of nice perspective and interesting information. Thanks for your passionate interest in this show." And thank you very much for writing, John.
We told him it was great to know he likes the Loch Ness Monster too, so he followed up to say Sasquatch is another favorite of his. And since he lives in the Pacific Northwest, I think he has a very good chance of spotting a Sasquatch in his region. I hope you are lucky enough to get a picture too, John.
And thank you to everyone for the wonderful comments and for sharing your love of this excellent animated series.
Next, we want to extend our thanks to everyone who supported the show on social media since last episode. These are people who commented or shared posts from us, and we sincerely appreciate all of the support.
Before we start, let me say if we miss a name, just let us know and we'll correct that next time. And please forgive us if we mispronounce your name. Just write to let us know, and we'll be sure to correct that next time as well.
Aaron Humphreys, Austin Appleby, Brian Mulvey, Kat Randall, Chris Mounts, Clinton Robson, Cullen Stapleton, David Blackwell, David Wade, Derek W.C., Ed and Terry Moore, Ed Harris, Fred, Gene Hendricks, Jerry Green, Elsa Everett, James Helm, James Sullivan, Jason Albrick, Jeffrey Sargent, Jerry McMullen,
John Baker, John Copenhaver, John Scott, Marco, Mark Adams, Martin Gray, Max Traver, Mike Martin, Omar Rodriguez, Paige Grow, Pat Sampson, Paul Ken, Peter Noga, Professor Allen, Robert Leach, Ron and Lynn Randall, Ross Pipkin, Scott Connor, Stephen Robertson, Tim Price, and Warren Montgomery.
Thank you again, everyone, and we'll be right back after this promo for another podcast that you might enjoy.
It's 1986. The Masters of Evil have a plan to crush the Avengers. They succeed. Can our heroes fight their way back to victory and defeat the Masters? Join me, Tim Price, and an assemblance of some of Earth's mightiest podcasters as we cover Avengers Under Siege, issue by issue, plus tie-ins, celebrating the 40th anniversary of the greatest Avengers story ever. The show, Outcasters Under Siege. Coming in 2026. Point your podcatcher to the Right On Network.
Before we go, we want to provide our contact information.
If you want to contact us directly or have something you would like to have read on the show, then please send an email to xenozoicxenophiles@gmail.com.
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at Xenozoic Xenophiles, and you can visit our website at xenozoicxenophiles.com for links to all of our social media pages.
You can listen to the show through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and most other podcast apps, and all of our episodes are always available at xenozoicxenophiles.com.
You can also find the show on YouTube as part of the Rad Adventures Network. That's Rad, R-A-D, which is short for Ruth Ann Deeren.
On the Rad Adventures YouTube channel, you'll find all of the episodes of all of our podcasts, including Xenozoic Xenophiles, as well as Trekker Talk about 23rd century bounty hunter Mercy St. Clair by Ron Randall, and Warlord Worlds about the comic creations of Mike Grell, including the Warlord, John Sable, and Green Arrow.
If you like the show, please consider leaving a review. Every review helps the podcast be more likely to show up in search results.
And on YouTube, we hope you'll subscribe to the channel and give us some likes on the videos.
Thank you so very much for listening, and we hope you'll come back next time for another new episode of Xenozoic Xenophiles.
Xenozoic Xenophiles is a proud member of the Comics Podcast Network. For more information, please visit comicspodcasts.com. We are not affiliated with Mark Schultz or the various companies that have published the series. The views expressed on the show are solely ours. Music is taken from the album Movie Tunes, Background Music, Songs and Loops, Volume 2. We make no money from this podcast, and no copyright infringement is intended.